Greetings. I am Wayne French, President of International Black Writers and Artists, Los Angeles. IBWA in short. Welcome to Embracing Legacy, Acknowledging Brilliance, IBWALA's celebration of 48 years of Black excellence. Before we get underway, let us take a moment to dedicate this day to the Black family, which influences all families of humankind throughout the world. IBWALA was founded in 1974 in Los Angeles, California, South Central Los Angeles to be specific. What started out 48 years ago as a tight-knit study group of local women has grown to a sprawling institution, a truly international community of creators who hail from such distant lands as Brazil, South Africa, the United Kingdom, and Vietnam. It has spawned over 30 domestic chapters here in the United States. Our members and associates include best-selling authors, award-winning artists, some you've heard of, and so many others you're about to have the pleasure of getting to know. We have designed this event to be an interactive program with your participation being a vital element. We will be monitoring the chat feed to respond to your comments and questions. Feel free to chime in. Let us know where you're from. Let us know how you heard about us. Keep in mind this program is being recorded, so your image and participation will be captured as a part of our legacy. Meanwhile, if you'd like to donate and become a member at $45 a year to participate in our workshops, you can contribute via Cash App at that's $ IBWALA. It's $ again, IBWALA. And check writers like me, you can make your contributions by mail at IBWALA, Post Office Box 43576. Again, IBWALA, Post Office Box 43576, and that's Los Angeles, California, 90043. That's Los Angeles, California, 90043. You can also join by logging onto our website at IBWALA.com. Contributions and membership fees may not be tax deductible. We're working on rectifying that. The strands of innovation that formed our organization were woven by Black women. Well, one in particular. Here's Sherry Randolph with a tribute to our founder, Mrs. Edna Crutchfield.
My Lord, he calls me by the thunder. The trumpet sounds within my soul. I ain't got long to stay here. Well, children, where there's so much racket, there must be something out of kilter. That man over there says that women's has to be lifted in the carriages and helped over ditches and has to be in the best place everywhere. Well, ain't nobody will ever lift me in no carriage and help me up over mud puddles and gives me the best place, and ain't I a woman? Look at me. Look at my arms. I have plowed and planted and gathered into barns, and no man could hit me. And ain't I a woman? I seen my mama born 13 youngins and seen us most all just sold off into slavery. And when I cried out in my mother's grief for somebody help me save my youngins, none but Jesus heard me. And ain't I a woman? Then they goes off and starts talking about something in the head. I don't know what's this they call it.
Intellect.
That's it, honey. Intellect. See, if my cup only holds a pint and yourn's a quart, wouldn't it be mean of you not to let me have my own half measure full? Then that little man back there in the black, he say, women can't have much rights as men, cause Christ weren't a woman. I say, where did your Christ come from? Where did your Christ come from? Christ come from God and a woman. Man had nothing to do with him.
Yeah.
If the first woman that God ever made was strong enough to turn this world upside down alone, then these women together ought to be able to take it back and get it right side up again. And now we's asking to do it. And the men's better let us.
Yes. I feel gratified and blessed joining you in this moment on this grand futuristic platform to share the joys and the pains of a queen mother. Indeed, many queen mothers and the men who've co-created and fostered such marvelous, amazing, yes, astonishing living stories. I'm here as a member of the IBWALA legacy team to share with you just a few of our own stories, to share a little bit of the legacies passed down to us, and to regale those within our ranks or who have touched us and weave them in ways that have and continue to create new stories, new creative landscapes, and new legacies. Legacies that we leave to our children, our families, our communities, and to the world. So I welcome you once again to the IBWA Legacy Project. Inspired by tragedy, the passing of our friend and brother, superstar Eric Jerome Dickey. This is just a warm-up for a 50-year retrospective on the rich history of international Black writers and artists Los Angeles, and the scores of personalities, writers, and artists of every genre, their readers and collectors, an impressive line of speakers and workshop leaders, spoken wordsmiths, dancers, musicians, supporting institutions, businesses, educators, much too many to mention in this introductory chapter. Although the legacy is long, reaching into the story and lives of writers like Phyllis Wheatley, a published slave poet, when writing must have first been deemed a most defiant act in violation of anti-Black literacy laws, punishable by the unspeakable. And the renowned freedman, statesman, and orator, Frederick Douglass. Even reaching further back to the griot, spoken word traditions from the motherland, from the cradle of civilization, our nexus to those Orishas, elders, ancestors. So let me begin my journey. I'm inviting you along on Saturday at 3 p.m. at the home of Miss Edwina Gaines, near 76 in San Pedro, which later turned out to be the name of our second anthology, 76 in San Pedro. So read the notice in the Los Angeles Sentinel. When I saw it, I thought, wow, this is my chance to keep on track to my dream of writing a book someday. Just to be around writers, people who are doing what I hope to do. Little did I know the impact that joining this club would have on every aspect of the rest of my life. That was in 1978. I was a 30-year-old stay-at-home wife and mother with a 1-year-old daughter, and I had just finally completed my BA in English and political science with a certification in secondary education. I mention that education because IBWA has, through the years, been flooded with educators, teachers. The club, as they called it then, had just started about 4 years before I got there and had already published its first anthology in 1976, A Black View of the Bicentennial. Our founder, Edna Crutchfield, had a poem that I'd like to read for you. It's called Black Man Free. In 1865, Lincoln freed the slaves. Of what did he free them? Not of white men, knaves who enslaved over again their minds, their future, their land, taken away? Where is their culture? Replaced, you say. With what? Prejudice and hate, shacks, no hope, tenements, slums, the developments, dope. Strike back, youth says. With what? Spit? Coke bottles? Fires? Riot takes grit. Black history unknown. Some land Black must own. Left alone, we must be till the Black man is free. That was the first anthology, A Black View of the Bicentennial. I'm still amazed as I think back on how that book was produced. Already in collaboration, the cover was produced with the aid of a visual artist by the name of Gene Kane, a process never seen by younger people these days. Back then, we used real typewriters, real scissors, and real glue to cut and paste. That was the way our newsletter was produced too, Black Expressions, when I was the editor and graphic artist. We were born in the 70s. It's all about the poets, the condition of the Negro, which was now becoming Black. It was then, not until the 80s, we became international Black writers and artists. We were now becoming Black and proud. Ain't no stopping us now, replaced what's going on in the 80s. It was Haki Madhubuti and Third World Press, already an icon, a word not known to me then, yet as a little old country girl born and raised in California's Central Valley and who was a teenager who picked cotton and cut grapes, although then it was optional. I had never heard of this fellow. Why were we inviting him to be one of our speakers? It's not like we were going to invite Maya Angelou or Gwendolyn Brooks, one of Haki's mentors I later found. We already had Octavia Butler, who was a fixture at most of our conferences, teaching us. Octavia Butler, and across the fence neighbor to our Sharon Terry, the individual who I took over from as editor of Black Expressions, was a fixture also at our annual July conferences. So when Hazel Harrison suggested we actually pay money to have this guy come and speak to us, in my country bumpkin kind of ignorance, I said, Haki Mari who? Hazel Clayton, I have to mention, was as much more worldly a poet from up north, a woman who was there at Kent State University when the military came out to quiet the Black student protests. From Ohio, her father being a worker in the mines. Hazel Clayton had traveled a long way from home and was already associated with the world of writing and publishing outside of Los Angeles when she came to us. Well, what will we become? That's basically a very short overview of my perception, my experience, my story with IBWA LA. But what will we become? Those of you who are listening, we hope to become you. You, your children, your grandchildren, starting here, starting now. The IBWA Legacy Project, International Black Writers and Artists at 50 years, the documentary film wants you. in the spirit of collective economics, creativity, and so on. I'd like to read you the second stanza of the Haki Madhubuti poem called Art. Magnify your children's mind with art. Jumpstart their questions with art. Introduce your children to the cultures of the world through art. Infuse the values important to civil culture via art. Keep them curious, political, and creative with art. Here at IBWA, it has been a family affair. During this project, you will see and hear about some of our children and grandchildren who were raised within this network. A network of readers, writers, artists, arts enthusiasts, and resources, including institutions and publishers that have assisted us to educate and promote those individuals within our ranks with whom we have a nexus to ensure that our writers are read, seen, heard, and published. If you would like to be part of this entire project called the Legacy Project and our documentary film that will cover 50 years, especially if you had any association with IBWA Los Angeles and or any of the other 30 to 35 chapters which were created by Edna Crutchfield across the country and the world, we would like you to write to us, with old-fashioned pencil and paper or pen and paper or typewriter and paper, rather than sending us email. Although you might be able to send us email at our website, ibwala.com. Please write to our P.O. Box 43576, Los Angeles, California, 90043. Send us your story and for an opportunity to appear in the documentary. We also need, in the spirit of collective economics, your contributions to assist us in the production of this film. So don't forget to include whatever you can, in part, make your checks out to International Black Writers and Artists or IBWA and send to the post office box. It has been my pleasure and my joy to work on this project and to learn again and learn for the first time some of the many stories that we're not able to share with you on this short event. But you will hear more about them in the film. Again, we thank you for being part of this event.
Hi, my name is Hazel Clayton Harrison, and thanks to men and women of courage and faith, like Mrs. Edna A. Crutchfield, one of the founders of International Black Writers and Artists. Today, I am a poet, author, and editor. I had the great fortune of being mentored by Mrs. Crutchfield when I was elected president of the Los Angeles chapter in 1986. And from 1987 through 94, we corresponded the old-fashioned way via letters delivered by the U.S. Post Office. Her letter writing style inspired and edified me during my tenure in office. They also gave me great insight into the richness of her life as mother, gourmet cook, writer, national president, and Renaissance woman. Today, I will share with you excerpts from some of her letters. February 1987. If I survive this period in my life, I will probably live a long time. Black History Month took its toll on me. We had programs beginning February 1st, a theater party, until February 28th, a poetry reading. March 1987. Well, my dear, for 1987, I shall start looking for a permanent home for IBWA. I'm willing to put up a couple $1,000s, and I'm sure members will be willing to support the program. Just imagine a place where we can meet, house a museum and gallery, rent out space, hold poetry readings and junior Black writers workshops, and have a kitchen for cooking and serving low-calorie gourmet meals. June 1994. Several people who called me said they saw something about our IBWA conference in Writer's Digest. They said that other Black organizations never responded to their inquiries. So I started thinking, we should get something in Writer's Digest every year and add a How to Get Published seminar to our July conference. August 7th, 1994. Surprise, surprise! Local 11 in Cleveland, Ohio has come alive. Kenyatta has the group going. They have a president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, newsletter chair, and youth director. August 26, 1994. And this was written after she'd had a stroke and was having vision and heart problems. Today has been a busy day for me because tomorrow is our meeting. I did a few household chores and then I slept until time to fix dinner. I cooked some eggplant with slivered roast beef, okra, corn, and tomatoes, and fresh corn on the cob. I feel pretty good and sleep a lot. When I'm awake, I'm writing. That is my enjoyment, and it relaxes me. I hope that gives you some insight into her extraordinary character and personality. In summary, Mrs. Crutchfield was the engine, the wheels, and the conductor of an underground railroad that kept IBWA on track through the latter part of the 20th century. When she passed away, we lost a great humanitarian and champion for our rights to read, write, and publish our stories. Yet, she left behind a tremendous, enduring legacy that has propelled us forward. Officers like Wayne French and Randy Ross did a great job of bringing us into the 21st century. The question we must ask ourselves now is, do we still need a Black writers organization? If the answer to that question is yes, and I pray it is, how do we re-energize and reorganize our group so we can nurture and mentor future Octavia Butlers, Eric J. Dickies, and Kehinde Wileys? Thank you, and God bless.
I Am Woman, a poem by Emma Denman Clark. I am woman. See me in the beginning, and see me now. I have carried races of men inside my womb, loved them, nourished them, and given them birth. I am the dark past, the tragic present, and the unpredictable future. Although strong and yet tender in turn, I wish to remain indisputably woman. Trust in me, and I will carry on. I am capable of expansion. I surround the universe. My specialties are love and understanding. See me as I stand on the wheels of time in ages past and gone. Now and always, I wish to remain woman. Look at me, for I am life. Respect me, for I am woman. Look upon me and love me, for I am your mother. I am the despair and desire of your only sister. I am the faithful love and honor of your innocent daughter. I am the strength and courage of your aging father. I am the respect and manhood of your tender young son. Destroy me, and you will destroy yourself. Love me, and you will find heaven on earth. For I am life. I am woman.
Just a few years ago, Amanda Gorman became the youngest inaugural poet in U.S. history when she recited her poem, The Hill We Climb, during the Biden inauguration. Think about where these young prodigies, writers, artists come from. What kind of influences, models did they have in their earlier years? Leonard Howes, actor, Zeal Harris, artist and historian, Kehinde Wiley, international artist and portrait artist for the famous Obama White House photo, Amina Bakir Abdul-Jabbar, writer, producer, director, and film professor. And then there's me, journalist and dancer, Zerlene Hughes Sproul. This is the legacy of IBWALA, the youth edition. To be exact, it was AAYAS, the African American Youth Arts Society, the albeit short-lived youth club that International Black Writers and Artists Los Angeles allowed me to start in the mid-90s with my junior high school and high school friend, Kehinde Wiley. This IBWALA 2.0 was an effort to give us then young folks a platform to perform, exhibit, learn, and become leaders, in addition to receiving mentorship and tutelage. It also gave us an opportunity to teach our elders about what we were doing and learning. The impact of seeing the rising growth of mentors like New York Times best-selling author, the late Eric Jerome Dickey, while also not realizing until now that we were in the presence of genius in history like Octavia Butler, all members of International Black Writers and Artists. They were always around. They were easily accessible, and they made us who we are today, the next generation of scribes, artists, storytellers, teachers, and supporters of the arts. I've been in the group, International Black Writers and Artists, for my entire life. Born into it as my mother, L.A. Hughes, or Linda Hughes, was a member, former president, former executive director. Hearing poets like Sunji Ali bellowing poems I couldn't yet understand as a 5-year-old, listening when I was 10 to meetings being called to order at the Jesus Jones and Justice Museum, founded by the late Edwina Gaines, another IBWA LA member, to helping plan the 30th anniversary conference at the Los Angeles Expo Center when I was in my mid-20s. And also sharing with my children now the books and artwork by our published members like Hazel Clayton Harrison's The Story of Christmas Tree Lane. Now, we are running with the baton, using our platforms to excite the next generation. IBWALA turns 50 soon, and that means new leadership, new storytellers, new visual and performing arts. These folks need mentorship, and our elders are ready to hand off leadership and enjoy the fruits of their labor in the spirit of Ujima, collective work and responsibility. I am proud to have seen this organization grow, flower, support, and I'm looking forward to the next 50.
From the need, desire, and vision seed of one woman and a few friends, International Black Writers and Artists Los Angeles was born, and over decades has been the home to torrents of creatives, cultural curators, mentorship for massive, pedestal and platform for painters, producers, musicians, editors, publishers, journalists, authors, audiences, playwrights, erudites, readers, and poets, as well as events and venues. We share a few with you as we embrace our legacy and acknowledge our brilliance. Former President Mark Tanks and former President Larry Newsom, Roderick Sykes from St. Elmo Village, Aaron Aubrey, journalist and author, Dr. Samela Lewis and her spouse, Sunji Ali and Mr. Singleton, Kuji Chagalia and student, science fiction writer Gary Phillips, Larry Aubrey, Margie Gibbs from the Midnight Special Bookstore in Santa Monica, Tamika Washington Miller, dancer, choreographer, artistic director, Mrs. Edwina Gaines, Zerlene Hughes Spruill, Linda Hughes, former president, Mrs. Crutchfield and Sidney Singleton, the Hayslips, authors, Barnett Honeywood, Eric Jerome Dickey, Tamu, Eric Dickey again, and Derby Turbilon, Alan Bell, along with Eric Dickey on panel. A group of performers at the New Otani downtown for one of our conferences. Sherry Randolph, poet and author, and current president, Sherry's son and friend, Mildred Dumas, playwright, actress, Trisha Cochet, author, and Zerlene early on. Reggie and Jair at Exposition Park, along with one of my students. Poetry at Exposition Park. St. Elmo Village, Linda Hughes and our president, Noma Lemoyne, who hosted us in her home in View Park. Sunji Ali and one of the Rots prophets. Visual artists, Dwayne Paul and Zil Harris. And past President Randy Ross. Zerlene, and one of our newsletters that highlight Eric Jerome Dickey, Earl Wooten, and Kehinde Wiley. Don't forget, you can always join and be a part of those that make the world go round in literary, visual, and performing arts. Black Expressions, our newsletter, and the 35th anniversary edition. It's a wonderful aspect of our community outreach from Los Angeles to Brazil, Pearl Sharp, Irwin, Washington, and we also have our anthologies, River Crossings, and others that came along after. Here we see artists that have made their spot, so to speak, that include Octavia Butler, and we see their own renditions with their books, independently produced and reviewed, so to speak. Mrs. Huddleston, Tricia Cochet, part of our legacy team. David Crittenden, a current member. And part of the legacy team, Hazel Clayton Harrison.
Greetings. I'm Tricia Cochet, a longtime IBWALA member and a past board member. You know, I can't really remember how long IBWA has been a part of my life. These folks, I've been around them a long time. I remember the conferences and the workshops back in the 80s and the 90s. And there were always lots of folks there, standing room only workshops and events, publishing events. And in the room, and keynote speakers, you would see Octavia Butler, Hakeem Madhubuti, Wanda Coleman, Sonia Sanchez, I think was in the room at one point. IBWLA has always been open to collaborations. We've worked with UCLA Extension, the World Stage, the Vision Theater, City of LA, and the Nubian Foundation, just to name a few. But one of our strongest relationships and collaborations through the years has been with St. Elmo Village. Now we're 48 years, but St. Elmo Village, they've been around since 1967. We're talking about generations of families that call St. Elmo Village their home away from home for the arts. And that includes music, painting, writing, gardening. I call St. Elmo Village a garden of creativity. St. Elmo Village has been home to one of our writing workshops that was facilitated by one of our late members, and that was Randy Ross. And we've also had several events there on the grounds at St. Elmo. Really good times. Some of the other collaborations that I produced through the years include Nubian Nights, Ancient Evenings, which was a fundraiser for IBWA and the Nubian Foundation. You could say it was a cultural alternative to the typical Valentine's Day. It was a night of African food, African and Ethiopian, Egyptian dancers, erotic poetry, as well as fine art and photography. It was quite a night. Wanda Coleman, poet, novelist, journalist, a cultural keeper, South Central's poet laureate. She was a force of nature, an ancestor now, and I'm sure that she is an Orisha. She was a strong supporter of IBWALA, and our members were instrumental in the library dedication for her at Abbott Library. In fact, let's call that library the Wanda Coleman Library from now on. I produced a tribute to her as part of the Leimert Park Literary Festival, and we were really thankful that her husband, who was also a poet, Austin Strauss, came out to support, and of course thankful that the poetry community came out to support as well. And we were particularly inspired to see so many young people come out in tribute to her, to learn about her and be inspired by her. Her, that is, as in Wanda Coleman. Art is that connecting thread through all of these events, these organizations, and these creative people. We create because we have to. Art is life. It is our oxygen. Thank you. Seduction. It wakes you up at 3 a.m. like a lusty lover, demanding to be satisfied, whispering, "You're not finished yet. Come back here." It blows a melody in your ear and won't leave you alone until you give it a voice. Sends you a vision, a story, a technique, and seduces your hands to paint it, to write it, to master it. Like a good lover, it gives more than it takes. This 3-letter word, art, is full of power. If you're patient, listen, look, it will reveal its secrets to you, share its magic with you. Sometimes, if you are so blessed, it moves like water, not bound by form. It holds court with your imagination until you and it are one. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. It's time to start the Q&A. One where you can ask our legacy team questions, but we want you to interact with us. So let's see what we got. If anyone has any comments, anything you want to get on and talk to us about? Got some questions asked, but before we do, we want to hear from you. Let's hear from you. Let us know how you feel about the program. Let us know where you're from. We need to hear from you. Let's interact now. Open up. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Are we able to lower the volume of the music? Or
yes,
thank you, man.
I've got a question. I've got a question from I believe it's Gerda. Okay. She accidentally sent me the question, I believe. So she says, I was so blessed to interview Wanda, Cole, and Octavio on my radio show in KPCC. She said we had a ball. So just want to acknowledge that.
I know Gerda.
But without IBLA, I would not have been able to inhale and exhale and become a poet and a writer because I can't help it. And I want to say a special thanks to Hazel Clayton Harrison. We worked together with Pasadena Rose Poets, but everyone was so kind to me. They guided me. And if I had a slip up, they told me that too, and it was fine. So what I really want to say is I'm coming back home. I've been away too long, and I am so happy that you're doing this.
Thank you. Thank you. It's great to hear from you. We want you to come back. Yes, please do.
Okay, it's done. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. I have a comment. I raised my hand, but it didn't show, maybe because my screen, well, I'm not on screen. Anyway, this is A. Hassani Perry.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Tricia. Thank you. Oh my goodness. Thank you, all of you. I have been around a long time. I'm an elder. I'm a continuing writer, but I'm new to this game. And yes, I shall join. I shall support in the way that I can. I shall submit. I shall be published with you. And I just can't thank you enough for this. I'm not able to show on screen this afternoon, but just know that everything I've seen and heard is, it just makes me very new. And I thank you very much, all of you. And all I can say is keep up. Oh, the question was asked earlier, where should we go? I mean, the association. And my thought is continue and continue to reaching back. I know that some of you writers do reach way back in our history to bring it forth, and then continue to elevate the dialogue further and higher, and in ways that it can be understood by everyone. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Perry.
Hassani.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Got someone else?
Oh, so my hand is up. Oh, sorry. I'm butting in, but I had raised my hand.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Is that you?
Yes, it's me. Yes. So I can't tell you how delighted I am to be here. I was part of the IBWA a long time ago, like in the 90s, when I lived in LA. I'm in New York now. But I have to say this, a poem that was picked up for Rivers Crossings has kind of become my signature poem. And it's also what encouraged me to put a book out. I submit poetry. I use poetry in my classes. I'm also like an instructor. And it's just a welcome return, even though it's been a couple of decades since I've been in LA. But I still have a son that's there, so I get there occasionally. But it's wonderful to see everybody's face. What can I say? Amazing group of people.
Is that Salim?
Yes, it's Salim.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for coming back to us, Salim.
Yes.
We're glad to have you back.
It's been, yes, I'm glad to be back. Fantastic.
Oh, nice. Oh.
You guys ever play this course before?
Yeah, we played before.
Who's that?
My name is Jeremy Turvalon, and I grew up very close to where IBWA is. I attended a few meetings before I moved to Santa Barbara, where I went to school. But later on, after I published novels, I couldn't find a teaching job. And in the newsletter, there was mention, the IBWA newsletter, that they were looking for an African-American, well, they're looking for a writer to teach at USC. And I applied, and Viet Nguyen hired me. So I owe my career, my teaching at USC, to the IBWA. So and I've gone on to write seven or so, 8 books. And I owe a lot of that to the organization and the support of Black folks in an industry that largely is white and not always very receptive to writers of color.
Okay, I got a question for everybody. What is your fondest IBWA LA memory?
Donald Bakir, are you out there? He was there a few minutes ago.
Okay, not it. I can't hear everybody's talking at once.
Oh, okay.
No, go ahead. I'm playing.
I was recruited into the IBWA from Horace Mann Junior High School, 1980 or so. I was a firebrand poet just here from back east. And I ran into a guy at Horace Mann where I was teaching English named Hilton Jordan. Hilton Jordan was a former member of Marcus Garvey's UNIA in Harlem. He and Miss Edna Crutchfield had started an organization. I was new to LA, well, I mean, South LA. And I was teaching Harlem Renaissance poetry and Dunbar and the great African-American poets, kind of on the down low at Horace Mann. And we were doing assemblies and they would get kind of raucous because we would do stuff like Incident by County Cullen and a lot of the Langston Hughes sometimes would have profanity in it, but it was communicating. We were holding these kids in the palm of our hand. Well, the white principal didn't understand the culture, so he forbid me to have assemblies. And Mr. Jordan didn't like that, so he went to his crew. That was IBWA. So they brought Ms. Edna Crutchfield, Emma Clark, and one or two other old octogenarians to the school, and they witnessed my assembly. And the assembly went really well. But the principal told me I could have no more assemblies. So this group went into his office, and whatever they said to him, he let me alone from then on. I had carte blanche. They intimidated me. I liked that. I found out that they were housed at 76 in San Pedro, approximately 2 blocks where my home was with my 8 kids, or 7 then, on 74th. So I started going to the meetings, and I realized that these were some very political people. They weren't writers so much, but they definitely had juice. So I started going. I brought my kids, and then we started Junior Black Writers and Artists. And my daughters, we spoke of earlier, Amina Abdul-Jabbar Bakir, Professor Amina. She won the poetry contest, so like $100 or something, and they were hooked. They're writers today. You know, I had several writers in my, but this book that we wrote was the second anthology. It was called 76 in San Pedro. It's only a couple of copies around now. It's 376 pages. It's got you, Linda Hughes. You're in there. You know, I might read one of your poems.
Oh, no.
It's got Hazel Clayton. It got some very, very strong writers. Sunji, who you mentioned earlier. For me, it gave me a platform. I came here as a revolutionary. I came here to change things. And I wanted to write political poetry. I wanted to get involved in the anti-gang movement. So I began to write poetry like Calling All Crips, you know, and calling for, in fact, a revolution before 1992, because I saw it, you know, that the change would be so much better for us. You know, I saw a lot of stuff teaching 150 to 200 kids a day. The IBWA started off the BWA, and about 1980 added the international. It was a force. I mean, we gave poetry readings 3 and 4 times a month. You know, we were trying to hook the community on poetry. There were no poets in those days. That was before rap. You know, I was teaching couplets and haiku and quatrains and the great masters. And we had a showcase. I had a group of poets called the South Central LA Poetry Choir. And we always had a venue with the IBWA. You know, always doing libraries, Black History Month performances, you know, and classical and poetry that we ourselves had created. My book became the movie South Central. Some of you might remember South Central. It's out, I released it. We were trying to stop the war between 8 Trey gangsters and rolling 60 Crips. You know, we were trying to stop the body count. So we were trying to make poetry here. You know, that was before you had spoken word. And, you know, we had interpretive speakers, you know, redoing famous speeches, Martin Luther King. It was, we injected the spirit of poetry in a lot of people. I was a teacher myself. Gene Williams was also a teacher. You know, so a lot of us that came out in IBWA expanded into the world stage in Leimert Park. You know, the venues, we kept them hot. You know, we kept a lot. I see Sherry Randolph. You know, we went around schools and stuff. You know, and we
Brother Don Bakir.
Yeah.
May I please interrupt?
Yeah,
I'd like to let our audience know that probably you and I, but you first, are probably the oldest surviving members of IBWA. I was there in '78 and you were there before that, very close to when they started. And as such, being the seniors, we have many stories.
No, we do. We have anecdotes.
And we're going to, I'm not the host of this meeting, but we have some more people who want to give their testimonies as well. And if any people want to stay after, we'll still be here for a while.
Okay, thank you, Miss Linda. Thank you, Professor Bakir.
Appreciate you, man.
Hi, this is Kathleen Shaw, coming to you from Kansas City, Missouri. I lived in California for about 9 or 10 years, from 2001 to 2011. I participated in IBWA LA, and we met in Pasadena, and I thought it was a great opportunity for me to work with larger art communities, and specifically a writing group in particular. It gave me an opportunity to be a writer with writers who know how to write and tell stories and all kinds of things we shared at the table in Pasadena. I hope to maybe write again someday. I don't chase it like I used to, but I'm glad I had an opportunity to meet everybody in Pasadena and LA and Kansas City. You hear the train, Union Station behind me. I'm in downtown Kansas City. Okay, thank you.
I would like to congratulate the IBWA for the great work it does in supporting Black writers in Los Angeles. Its workshop is instrumental in developing writers and helping writers see with their potential. My time at the IBWA attending the workshops was very instructive and useful, and also because of my association with the IBWA and the reading of this newsletter, I came across an article, an advertisement actually, that USC was looking for a person to teach an English department, and I assumed they were looking for a Black person because they were advertising the IBWA. So I ended up getting hired by Viet Nguyen, the guy who wrote the great novel Sympathizer, and also won the Genius Award. And he hired me to teach an English department, which I did for a number of years and really enjoyed it until he left the English department to return to American Studies. And then I was immediately fired by the white woman who came in to replace him. But again, if it wasn't for the IBWA, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to teach at USC. So I greatly appreciate what the IBWA has done for me and the broader Black literary community in Los Angeles. Thank you very much.
Was organizing the development of river crossings. And so that was probably the second or third anthology created by the International Black Writers and Artists. But I think it's probably the most ambitious one, to date, because that one, it was like a contest. And they were inviting writers, all levels to submit their stories, their poems, because it was short stories and poems. And I was one of the editors for that publication. And so one of the short stories submitted to that, to that effort was a story called 13. That was written by none other than Eric Jerome Dickey, and so fascinating story to me because when I first read it, being one of the editors, I thought it was written by a woman, and turns out it's written by a guy, and I was just so fascinated by that, So when I met him, I used to ask him all the time. I said, "How do you write like that? How do you write from the perspective of a woman, given that you're a guy?" Because I think that's a unique talent that for a male to be able to write from both perspectives so well, So that was Eric Dickey, and it turns out that that was his first story ever published, that 13. And
IBWA is valuable because I get the feedback, I bring pages, I get commentary, I usually go back and change everything that I've written based upon the comments that I hear, because I'm like, well, if that's what everyone's saying, then it's resonating. I need to listen to what people are telling me. So that's my take with IBWA. I hope to be able to be a member of IBWA, forever, and continue to be a writer through IBWA.
I am. And I love being in the room with people who are really smart. And that's the thing about this organization. All of the people here are really smart. And there's always a takeaway. There's always something to think about. Whether we disagree, and even in the disagreements, there's like such passion and intelligence that I have to go, I never thought of that. What does that mean? What does that mean to me as a person? What does that mean to me as a man? What does it mean to me in terms of where I need to go? And what does it mean to me in terms of how I communicate? And so that is the most valuable thing, story and the level of humanity that crosses. This group has kept me, has improved my level of humanity, for one, and has also sharpened my storytelling skills in terms of how I say things and and whether or not what I say is clear. Because I tend to want to leave space. That's the actor in me. I always want to leave space. But if nobody understands what's in the space, then I haven't done my job. So this is what I love about the organization. This is why I will be a part of this group as long as humanly possible, because, and like Daniel said, to wrap up, it's not about whether you bring a piece. That's wonderful. What it's about is hearing different ideas and learning from the minds and hearts of others. And you can't get it any other place. This is very us. We don't have to be guarded. We don't have to deal with what Greg Carr calls the social structure. This is the governance structures. Who are we to each other? And what are the truths that we tell each other?
I want to talk about the future of IBWALA. And I want to talk about what we are now, what we have become, and hopefully what we will become. In a little more than an hour, we've but scratched the surface of the depth of IBWALA's 48-year legacy. You've seen the images, you've heard the stories, and we're introduced to a few notables in this organization has produced. But the way to truly know the richness of IBWALA is to live it. The life's blood of the club, as the founders referred to it, has been the dedication of its intergenerational membership. That's how you build 48 years of community service into an institution. The idea for today's tribute started about a year ago with the ancestorhood of one of our brightest luminaries, best-selling author Eric Jerome Dickey. His life was an illustrative example of the time-honored tradition of not forgetting where you came from. Allow me to share an excerpt of a recent email from his publicist, Sarah Camilli. Quote, Eric credited IBWALA with giving him his start and contributed to one or two IBWALA anthologies. I know many, many years ago, we were together for the whole of his writing career. His editor was upset about his participation in one of the anthologies, and he said, I will write for them whenever they ask. They're the reason I got my start, end quote. With Eric's passing, we did a bitter census of our aging membership and realized we were losing more members than we were gaining. We had to ask hard questions of ourselves. What happens to this rich history once we become ancestors? Have we outlived our usefulness? How do we appeal to younger artists? Our response is the program that you've just witnessed. If this institution has a future, that future is in your hands. IBWALA will continue our monthly workshops for our members, and we will invite you to join us and help them thrive. We hope to get back to having conferences and publishing anthologies, and with your help, we will do just that. Join our club. Make our future our history.
This is David Crittenden here. It's just a pleasure to just hear all this wonderful history and to have all the recognition and remembrance from so many wonderful people. I look forward to continuing to be part of IBWA. Just let me know how I can be helpful, and I'm there. It's thrilling, really. Thank you so much.
Thank you, David.
Yes.
My name is Sammy Davis. I'm a photographer. And I guess I was invited by L.A. Hughes. I want to say hello to the group. This is a great platform you've built here, and I'm digging it. I was introduced to IBWA through Linda Hughes, and I'm going to consider joining. I love the feedback. I'm listening to everyone's thoughts and ideas. And I think it'd be a good place for me to be.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We'd be glad to have you.
I want to say hello, and I'm honored to be part of this conversation this evening. Even though I don't have any questions to ask right now, I'm just thrilled to be here. And thank you, all of you.
You are so welcome.
I remember one of your first photographic pieces of art was at the Watts of the Watts Towers. That was a long time ago.
Yeah, quite a while. That was in the 90s when I photographed that. And it's still, I was just thinking about that piece just the other day.
Still creating.
Thinking about probably putting it or posting it on my Instagram.
It's wonderful that you're still in the creative as well as the commercial arts. Thank you for joining us today.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for the invitation.
I remember you actually. So this is a tangential story, but it's what came to mind since we've been talking. There was a time when I was in LA and my car had broken down, and so I was on the bus. And in Pasadena, Octavia Butler got on the bus. She had just won the Genius Award, and I looked at her and I said, "You're Octavia Butler." She said, "I know who I am." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "But I know why I'm on the bus. Why are you on the bus?" It was funny, partly because much later, I learned that she didn't drive. And the whole idea of being in LA and not driving was inconceivable to me at that time. But it was just a funny story that came to mind as we were going through all of this that I thought.
You know, so many wonderful stories we've uncovered while we were doing the research and putting together information for this activity. It's just been amazing. We've gotten to know each other in ways that we didn't even think about when, back those years ago. But the history is so much richer and so much more far-reaching than you could even imagine. Actually, hundreds of writers and artists from all genres, and our individual stories are the stuff that dramas and documentaries are made of.
If I can just jump in, I'd feel remiss without saying, first of all, it has been such an incredible journey. And as I look back over all of these images, and then memories come to mind of all the incredible writers that have been writers and artists who have been on this journey with us. And it's been such an honor to be a part of this group. And I personally, because when I moved out here, and my daughter is on the line, Angela, I think she was like 9 or 10 years old. And we moved out here from the Midwest, didn't know a single soul. And one of the first organizations that I joined, I went to the conference, was IBWA. And for all these years, IBWA kept me grounded. And being inspired by these amazing artists has really what's pushed me forward. So it's an incredible organization, and anyone who joins it or becomes a part of it or supports us will be blessed, and it will inspire you and help to move you forward on your journey as a writer and an artist. So I want to say thank you to everyone.
Thank you, Ms.
I'd just like to say, I really enjoyed the experience. And if y'all didn't have a napkin or a handkerchief, I don't know. But I just wanted to leave on a very wonderful, beautiful note of the history. Our story.
Absolutely. And I know your name's not Fire Tablet, but I agree. I really want to give you all your flowers for putting in the work and showing up. You know what I mean? You would not have no history or network or memories if the work wasn't put there. And I love that you guys are daily still putting in the work toward the future. And I look forward to seeing, you know, that handoff to the next generation, because, you know, the sky's the limits when you embrace legacy and you acknowledge brilliance and you learn from it and you grow from it. So I just want to once again, thank the legacy team and all of you who've put in the work by showing up. It's inspiring.
Thank you, Mr. Dozier.
Hi, this is Sherry Randolph. I just want to say thank you to everyone that put the program together. It is all inspiring. And if I had my camera off, I probably would have cried when Jerome did his montage, and my son was there with my nephew. That was David Brown had come to do a workshop for IBWA as an artist. So we've had some really great programming over the years, and I've just been totally inspired overall. I don't even know if Bakir knows this, but I was a performer until I came to Sunji's group, Soul Visions, and I was performing, and everyone inspired me, right? And I started my own group, the Griots, to tell their story, and we had rehearsals on 74th at Bakir's house. And with all of the school teachers there, they told me to start writing. And my first piece that I wrote, I did at his house on 74th. And that was led to me publishing my book of poetry, Raw Poetry by Sherry Randolph, which all of you all supported. And I thank you so much.
Thank
So
you,
wonderful.
Dr. Randolph.
So wonderful to see you, Sherry.
Mm-hmm. And thank you for the rendition that you did. It's the Journal Truth poem. It's great.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I actually, Sunji was the first person that had me learn Sojourner Truth for Beyond the River Sorrows.
Mm-hmm. I noticed you did it with the Dutch accent.
I worked on it. those Portuguese. And everyone, if you don't know about Harold Fritch's book, Born in Blackness, you can pull up some interviews with him on YouTube, but I think his book is very rich. And Donald Bakir, I sent you a text about that because he would portray Mansa Musa, and Harold French does a deep dive into Mansa Musa and the envy and jealousy which created the greed of Europe that wanted the gold from Africa. Because Mansa Musa went to Hajj, he made Hajj, he went to Mecca and then went to Cairo. So that's very exciting historical work that Harold French is doing.
The Howard French book? Yeah, I saw Karen Hunter did an interview. I'm into, you know, K Narrative, K Nubia, Africana Carr, Dr. Greg Carr, and all of great resource for us all.
Great research. I mean, to me, it's a game changer. Great researcher, just a deep dive. Awesome.
Yeah. I intend to get that book. Yes. Yeah. He's a fascinating guy.
Well, anybody that wants to do like a read of it and have conversations, I'm all in. Let me jump in and say we definitely need some leadership, some energy. This is a platform, IBWA is, where if you have some ideas, projects, there's room. There's a lot of room in the inn, and there's room at the top, you know, and in the middle and everywhere else. So I don't know how much more time we have left, but I would like to invite everyone that's still on to sign up, especially if you want to join the workshops or whatever it is. Go to our webpage, IBWALA.com, and give us your contact information if you haven't already done that. We really need you, and we're raring to go.
Yes, we're going to wrap up. So we can continue the conversation on Facebook, and you know where we are. That's www.ibwala.com. So we want to hear from you. Stay in touch with us. We'll be here. We've been here for 48 years. We don't intend to go anywhere now. Stay with us, everyone. Stay with us.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Wayne, do you have a workshop coming up?
We have a workshop coming up. Next workshop will be March 19th. March 19th. And that'll be on Zoom. So you don't have an excuse not to attend. Can't say you can't get there. We'll come to you via Zoom. And I'll send out the notice, and we'll put it on the website, put it on Facebook. So you'll know where to find us. We will find you too. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming. Thank you for participating with us. And this has been a good day. It really has. Thank you all.
Great. Thank you, Wayne.
Love you all.
Thank you.
Yes.